Thanks, Dr. Nima, for the introduction. Good morning, everybody. Respected sir and dear colleagues. The topic for today's presentation is testicular cancer. Testicular cancer constitutes 1 to 2% of the total malignancies and around 5% of all urological malignancies. The aim of today's presentation is to create an awareness about testicular cancer because early diagnosis and treatment can cure this dreaded cancer. Testicular cancer commonly present as swelling, testicular swelling, scrotal swelling in maybe in general practitioner's OPD or a urology clinic or surgery clinic, and very rarely in pediatrics OPD also. So early diagnosis is the key for the treatment and management of this condition. The objectives of this CME topic is to learn about the anatomy of the testis, epidemiology of testicular cancer, evaluation and staging of the disease, diagnostic modalities available for the early detection of the disease, to discuss the treatment options available, patient counseling and follow-up, and prognosis of testicular tumor. A brief introduction. Testicular cancer comprises a morphologically and clinically diverse group of tumors. 1 to 2% of all malignancies, 1 to 2% of them are bilateral. It predominantly affects young male, and peak incidence is third decade for non-seminoma and fourth for pure seminoma. Coming to the epidemiology, worldwide around 72,000 new cases and 9,000 deaths per year, which can be prevented, are happening because of testicular cancer. The more incidence is towards the Scandinavian countries. And there is some genetic predisposition, especially in bilateral tumors, as evidenced by the mutations in chromosome number 12. Most common solid tumor of men age around 20 to 34 years, and second most common age around 35 to 40 years, and more common in white population than in the black. It's slightly more common in the right testis. 2 to 3% tumors are bilateral, and similar histology predominates with bilateral tumors. Bilateral seminoma is the most common histologically when it happens bilateral. A brief introduction about the anatomy of the testis. Testis is a male gonad. It's homologous with the ovary in female. It measures around 3.75 into 2.5 into 1.8. It is situated outside the body. And the cut structures consist of 200 and 300 lobules. Each lobule has 2 to 3 seminiferous tubules, and they are lined by different germinal cells. Interspersed between them are the Sertoli cell and the interstitial cell of Leydig, which produce a testosterone. Seminiferous tubules join to form 20 to 30 straight tubules, and then it continues as the spermatic cord. The testis is supplied by the testicular artery and drained by the testicular vein. One important aspect of the testicular anatomy is the lymphatic drainage, because the testicular cancer spreads by lymphatic spread, and there are usually no skip meds seen. So right testis usually drain along the IVC, intra-aortic cable, pre-aortic and para-aortic lymph node, and there is a crossover within the retroperitoneum. That means the right to left crossover is there. Left testis predominantly drain into the pre-aortic and para-aortic lymph nodes along the left renal hilum, intra-aortocaval nodes mostly without the crossover. Retroperitoneal lymph nodes are located anterior to T11 to L4 vertebrae. Some iliac chain involvement is seen, which is very infrequent, around 3%. The scrotal skin involvement in testicular cancer can lead to involvement of the inguinal and external iliac group of lymph nodes. And this is the most common malignancy in men in 15 to 35 age groups and accounts for 23% of all cancers in this group. Coming to the germ cell tumors, 90 to 95% of testicular tumors are malignant germ cell tumors. They have 5 basic cell types, commonly the seminoma, embryonal cell carcinoma, yolk sac tumor, teratoma, and choriocarcinoma. Germ cell tumors are believed to arise from the totipotent germ cell, which differentiate into seminoma and teratoma, with extraembryonic and intraembryonic differentiation into choriocarcinoma, yolk sac tumor, and teratoma. I think some audio problem was there. As already discussed, this is a WHO classification of testicular tumors. And some secondary tumors, unclassified tumors, and soft tissue tumors are also included in testicular cancer. Intratubular germ cell neoplasia. This is widely regarded as the pre-universal precursor of all testicular germ cell tumors except spermatocytic seminoma, prepubertal yolk sac tumor, and prepubertal mixed teratoma. It has been shown that 50% of men in whom CIS was detected, that is intratubular germ cell neoplasia, developed invasive disease within 5 years if left untreated. The incidence of intratubular germ cell neoplasia in male population is 0.8. The risk factors for the development of testicular intratubular germ cell neoplasia includes history of testicular carcinoma, extragonadal germ cell tumor, cryptorchidism, somatosexual ambiguity, and infertility. Intratubular germ cell neoplasia are commonly histologically developed from fetal gonocytes, as evidenced by fetal cell surface lipoprotein antigens. Intratubular germ cell neoplasia screening is recommended in some studies in cases of extragonadal germ cell tumor, all adolescent with intersex bearing Y chromosome, and cryptocoid males. But the European Association of Urology usually recommends screening in testicular for CIC in
Sorry for the inconvenience. There is a technical issue in the audio. We are correcting it soon. Please bear with us for 5 minutes.
Coming to the intratubular germ cell neoplasia. Continuing with the topic, the screening of contralateral testis in patients with germ cell is not advocated because of protracted course of CIS, side effects of therapy, and secondary primary germ cell tumor responds well to treatment. The screening tools and the diagnostic tool for intratubular germ cell neoplasia in suspected cases or in high-risk cases include the open surgical biopsy, and the double biopsy from either of the pole is usually recommended. Other immunostaining markers like PLAP and polyclonal antibodies, monoclonal antibodies against M2A, 43-9F are also being used. There is no established tumor marker since CIS, and testicular ultrasound is unreliable for the diagnosis of CIS. Management depends on age, the unilateral or bilateral tumor, and associated factors. Treatment for intratubular germ cell neoplasia includes observation in very high-risk patient, unilateral orchiectomy in patient with unilateral ITGCN with infertility or maldescent. Testicular irradiation is the preferred modality. Around 18 to 20 grays are usually given in bilateral ITGCN, even in unilateral cases. Adjuvant chemotherapy is usually not recommended as a treatment, but may be tried if there are other contraindications for testicular irradiation. Coming to the germ cell tumor proper, the frequency of histological types, the germinal tumors, 90 to 95% of all primary testicular tumors are germinal tumors, out of which seminoma constitute 30 to 60%, embryonal carcinoma 3 to 4% in pure form and 40% in mixed form, teratoma 5 to 10%, and mixed germ cell tumor around 60%. The etiological factors which are involved in germ cell tumors, the most common of that is cryptorchidism, that is the undescended testis. 7 to 10% of patients with testicular tumors have prior history of cryptorchidism. The relative risk of developing a testicular cancer in maldescent testis is 3 to 4 times. 25% of patients with bilateral cryptorchidism and a history of testis cancer develop second germ cell tumor. Other factors like trauma and atrophy have no direct relationship, but there may be a cause and effect relationship in which the patient seeks treatment. Some hormonal factors like exposure to female hormones and women exposed to offsprings of women exposed to diethylstilbestrol or oral contraceptive has a relative risk rate of developing testicular cancer of 2.8 to 5.3%. Coming to the clinical manifestation, the usual presentation and the most common presentation is the nodule of painless swelling in one gonad. 30 to 40% may complain of a dull ache or heavy sensation in the lower abdomen and the scrotal area. Some patients may present with acute pain in cases where some intra-tumor bleeding or any torsion. Other clinical manifestation may be due to the metastasis, may be present as a neck mass when supraclavicular lymph nodes are involved, GI disturbances in retroduodenal metastasis, lumbar back pain, bone pain in skeletal mets, and CNS nervous manifestation, and extremity edema in ileal or caval obstruction by the retroperitoneal lymph nodes. Physical examination is the most important aspect of diagnosing of testicular cancer. And always you have to begin with the examination of the normal contralateral testis. Any firm, hard or fixed area should be considered suspicious. Testicular cancers tend to remain ovoid, being limited by that of investing tunica albuginea. Hydrocele may be present, which may increase the difficulty of palpation. The common differential diagnosis which you should keep in mind in cases of testicular cancer or scrotal swelling include the testicular torsion, epididymitis, epididymo-orchitis, tuberculosis and other etiology, hydrocele, chronic hernia, hematoma, spermatocele, syphilitic gamma. All this can be clinically and radiologically differentiated. But these things should be kept in mind in differential diagnosis. The staging of testicular tumors is important, and the clinical stage depends on the other factors, which includes the orchiectomy. Specimen is very important for the T staging of the tumors and the radiological investigation and Other lab investigations also are used to stage the tumor. The radical inguinal orchectomy with early clamping of the somatic cord, the deep inguinal ring, should allow local control, the histological nature of the tumor, percentage of tumor subtype, T-staging, lymphatic or vascular invasion. And this determines the treatment options which can be provided to the patient after further staging. Test radiography, test CT are done to further stage the disease. The plain X-ray test showing a mets in the mediastinal group of lymph node. Total ultrasonography is basically an extension of the physical examination. Any hypoechoic area within the tunica albuginea is markedly suspicious of testicular cancer. In patients with diagnosis of extragonadal germ cell tumor, ultrasound of testis is mandatory to be certain that one is not dealing with primary GCT. There are few pictures showing the ultrasound images of testicular cancer. You can see the hypoechoic area within the testis, and it appears to be well defined, the characteristic of seminoma. Lymphoma may present with multiple hypoechoic lesion, and in this case, this is an image of the teratoma which showing cystic area. Sometimes calcification also may be visible in cases of teratoma. MRI testicular tumors are hypointense on T2 weighted images and show brisk and early enhancement after IV gadolinium contrast injection. PET scan is normally not recommended for a staging purpose, but it can be used as a treatment modality in post-chemotherapy masses in seminoma. An MRI image showing homogeneously hypointense T2 weighted image, which shows enhancement after contrast. Large tumors may be heterogeneous. CT scan with contrast, which includes abdominal pelvic CT and CT scan of chest, are the mainstay of staging the testicular cancer. And excellent for visualization of the kidney, ureter, retropleural space, para-aortic region. However, CT cannot differentiate sufficiently between fibrosis, teratoma, malignancy by size criteria alone. So you can see this is a CT scan abdomen with contrast showing multiple para-aortic and intra-aorticable region lymph nodes. A cross-section axial CT scan showing left gross hydronephrosis due to large para-aortic mass from a germ cell tumor. And it's a gross hydronephrosis in the left kidney. Tumor markers play an important role in the diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment and follow-up of testicular tumors. And the common tumor markers are the alpha-fetoprotein, HCG, LDH, and PLAP. Alpha-fetoprotein is normally not produced by pure seminoma or pure choriocarcinoma, but can be found in mixed forms of these tumors. And HCG is commonly found in choriocarcinoma, embryonal carcinoma, and 5 to 10% cases of seminoma. LDH usually indicates the tumor burden of the testicular cancer. It's a very low specificity. Other tumor markers like GGTP and CD30 also are used in some cases of testicular cancer. Testicular cancer is usually, the tumor markers play an important role in the diagnosis, follow-up, and the recurrence cases also. Can be used as a prognostic index, and to expected half-life after treatment can be used as a prognostic index. Moreover, normalization of markers after treatment cannot be equated with the absence of residual disease. Still, the cases has to be followed up, even if the tumor markers are negative. Coming to the staging of the germ cell tumor, the AGCC has classified the tumor into primary tumor. The TX includes tumor cannot be assessed. N0, no evidence of tumor. TIS, including intertubular germ cell neoplasia. PT1, limited to the testis and epididymis with no lymphatic and vascular invasion. T2, it shows limited to testis and epididymis with lymphatic or vascular invasion and involvement of tunica albuginea. T3 involves a spermatic cord involvement with or without vascular or lymphatic invasion. And T4 invades the scrotum. N1, N2, N3 are the lymph nodal involvement depending on the size. N1 being less than 2 cm, N2 2 to 5, and N3 involving more than 5 cm.
And the M1 and M2 includes the non-regional lymph nodes and the lung mets, and M2 includes the non-pulmonary and distant mets. The tumor markers are also used for the classification purpose in the staging purpose, and LDH, HCG, and AFP are used to classify tumors into S1, S2, S3, depending on the levels in the serum. This is a stage grouping. The stage 1 includes tumors confined to the testis and the epididymis. Stage 2 includes tumors spreading into the lymph node, and stage 3 involves the distant mets. The treatment depends on the stage grouping of the testicular cancer. Coming to the individual tumors, seminoma constitutes of 35 to 70% of gel cell tumors, most common in men in 30s. 90% will patients stain for placental alkaline phosphatase, and anaplastic seminoma is a more aggressive variant of this tumor. The therapeutic principles of seminoma include the single agent chemotherapy and or radiotherapy, but chemotherapy is usually preserved because of the excellent results with the carboplatin. And the risk factors like size more than 4 centimeter and radiotestis involvement is also considered for the tumor treatment purpose. But the single agent chemotherapy agent carboplatin is usually the treatment of choice for stage 1 seminoma. And testicular cancers stage 1, the radiation also has been tried in patients who are not eligible for chemotherapy or some contraindication for chemotherapy is there. 20 to 24 grays up to 25 grays has been tried with excellent results. Surveillance in some patients can opt for the testicular cancer surveillance if they are in regular follow-up and if the tumor size is less than 4 centimeter and lymphatic and vascular invasions are absent. Stage 2A and 2B tumors are the tumors which involve the lymph nodes, and the excellent chemotherapeutic regimes and radiotherapy is there to completely cure the tumor. And the chemotherapy agents which commonly used is bleomycin, etoposide, and cisplatin regimen. And radiotherapy from 30 to 36 grays are used in 2A and 2B tumors depending on the lymph nodal involvement. Chemotherapy has the advantage that irradiation to the kidney is avoided and preferred in this region when involvement of this region is there. The International Germ Cell Collaborative Group has classified seminoma into 3 groups for the treatment purpose. It is the advanced stage seminoma. And for all advanced stage seminoma, the cisplatin-based chemotherapy is the preferred treatment. And it has to be followed up. And depending on the after chemotherapy, CT scan evaluation. And if there's a diffuse desmoblastic reaction, you need just observation. And if discrete, well-delineated mass with positive PET scan, it may be requiring a salvage chemotherapy or sometimes maybe a retroperitoneal dissection. Residual masses are resected if on CT scan if they are well delineated and the diameter is larger than 3 centimeter and they are positive on PET scan. This is a flow chart showing the treatment options available for all stages of seminoma. Coming to the non-seminomatous germ cell tumor, the individual tumors, embryonal carcinoma, the age range is 25 to 35 years, constitute 3 to 6% of germ cell tumors. And the embryonal carcinoma cells stain positive for HCG. Yolk sac tumor are the most common testis tumor in prepubertal boys. Alpha fetoprotein is positive in 90% of the cases. Teratoma is composed of 2 or more embryonic germ cell layer, as this image you can see, and constitute of 3% of adult and 38% of child germ cell tumors. Alpha fetoprotein is present in 20 to 25% of this tumor. Choriocarcinoma is an aggressive form of germ cell tumor. It's having high vascular spread, and it stains positive for HCG in 90% of cases. Coming to the non-seminomatous germ cell tumors treatment, the treatment options include the presence of risk factors like lymphatic and vascular invasion. And stage 1 tumors are the best option available is the chemotherapy regimen. Or the patient, if it is not fit for chemotherapy, can the options available is modify lymph node, retroperitoneal lymph node dissection. And retroperitoneal lymph node dissection, if it is positive, he may require another adjuvant chemotherapy cycles. Retroperitoneal lymph node dissection is capable of eradicating resectable disease in majority of N1 and tumors. Some modification of retroperitoneal lymph node dissection has decreased the side effects of this treatment, like with preservation of ejaculation in 100% and fertility noted in 75% of cases. These are the templates which is commonly used for right and left-sided testicular tumors, and the commonly involved lymph nodes are removed in retroperitoneal lymph node dissection, and the hypocrestic plexus is preserved. The postganglionic hypocrestic plexus is preserved to prevent ejaculatory disturbance and retrograde ejaculation. Retroperitoneal lymph node dissection is offered in non-seminaceous germ cell tumors in cases of lymphovascular invasion, because there is a high risk of recurrence, almost 55% if the lymphovascular invasion is there. And the retroperitoneal lymph node dissection involves a removal of precaval, retrocaval, paracaval, intra-aortocaval, retroaortic, pre-aortic, para-aortic, common iliac lymph nodes. Sometimes simple nephrectomy also may be included depending on the size of the mass lesion encasing the kidney. The disadvantage of retrograde ejaculation now has been decreased by modification in the technique, which decreases the incidence of retrograde ejaculation by preserving the postganglionic sympathetic chain. Radiation therapy normally is not preserved because of there is a high risk of secondary malignancy in 18% in 25 years, and the clinical staging may not be accurate in non-seminomatous germ cell tumor. Prognostic indicators include the lymphovascular invasion and factor VIII stain positivity. Some cases of non-seminomatous germ cell tumors can opt for surveillance if the patient is compliant and is coming for regular checkup. And the treatment principle for surveillance includes chest radiography, tumor markers, CT scan, and this surveillance may have to continue for 5 to 10 years after orchestration. The stage 2 treatment of non-seminomatous germ cell tumors, the options available are the RP-LND bilateral or primary chemotherapy, VEP, that bleomycin, etoposide, and cisplatin 3 cycles. A complete bilateral lymphadenectomy is recommended with patients with minimal retroperitoneal disease on retroperitoneal lymph node dissection. And suppose if patients having more extensive disease on RP-LND, the adjuvant chemotherapy can be given to these cases. International Germ Cell Tumor Consensus Prognostic Classification has classified non-seminoma and seminoma also into 3 groups, and the non-seminoma is classified into good prognosis, intermediate prognosis, and poor prognosis on the basis of the presence of the primary and the distant mets and the tumor marker levels. So good prognosis and intermediate prognosis cases can be managed by chemotherapy, 3 cycles of VEP or etoposide cisplatin if the patient is having some pulmonary complication. And poor prognosis by 4 cycles of VEP or EP, etoposide and cisplatin. The presence of elevated tumor markers is it's a contraindication for an RP-LND. Patient may has to go for a chemotherapy followed by a salvage chemotherapy also. And only when the tumor marker is negative, then the patient can opt for the RP-LND. The option of RP-LND is given. Patient who failed initial chemotherapy regimes, the ifosfamide, vinblastine, cisplatin, oxaliplatin, and autologous bone marrow transplant or stem cell support with high-dose chemotherapy regimens are also used. This is a flow chart showing the management protocol of non-seminomatous germ cell tumors. And the options include the chemotherapy and RP-LND and observation if there are very small tumors, mesoblastic reaction tumor like fibroblastic deposits. The common chemotherapy regimens in germ cell tumor include etoposide and cisplatin, that is EP, bleomycin, etoposide, cisplatin, and VIP in cases of some cases of other complications like an narcospide is substituted for bleomycin. Common toxicity of chemotherapy includes the bleomycin is the pulmonary fibrosis. So patients having a compromised pulmonary function can they are given etoposide and cisplatin regimen. The etoposide common complications toxicity includes myelosuppression, alopecia, renal insufficiency, secondary leukemia, and cisplatin including the renal insufficiency, nausea, neurotoxicity, and ototoxicity. Common radiotherapy protocol used the dog leg field because the size, the para-aortic and ipsilateral iliac lymph nodes are targeted, so it appears like that. And in the para-aortic field, radiation also is given for involvement of retroperitoneal lymph node. Toxicity of radiotherapy include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and peptic ulcer disease. Second cancer, there's a high risk in 5 to 10% of cases. Radiotherapy is always preferred with testicular shielding, and the patient may develop oligospermia, which may reverse after 1 or 2 years. 50% of patients have subfertile counts on presentation, and therefore the sperm banking is always given option before the treatment is begun in this patient. Even after radiotherapy, 30% patients may be able to have children after 1 or 2 years. But normally testicular shielding with sperm banking can preserve fertility in a lot of cases. As I told that in the beginning that prompt diagnosis, early diagnosis and treatment can almost cure this cancer with the treatment success rate, the prognostic almost 98% cure rate in stage 1 compared to stage 2B3 around 33 to 75% in seminoma. At 5 years, the non-seminomatous tumor, as you can see, it's almost reaching 100% with excellent chemotherapy and retroperitoneal lymph node dissection available. The chemotherapy and radiotherapy has made a dramatic change in the prognosis of the testicular cancer treatment. Different follow-up protocols are recommended. Patient has to be followed up to 5 to 10 years. Maybe sometimes patients require lifelong follow-up. And the normal follow-up includes chest X-ray, abdominopelvic CT scan, tumor marker, and the follow-up is continued 3 monthly, and then 3 to 6 monthly, and then annually after 4th to 5th year. Right. Just a brief about extragonadal germ cell tumor. 3 to 5% of all germ cell tumors are extragonadal origin. Mediastinum, retroperitoneum, sacrococcygeal region, and pineal glands are the commonly affected. And EGCT normally present with advanced local disease with distant mets. And the treatment include complete local excision if it's a seminoma, or desperate surgery with radiation therapy and chemotherapy if it's a non-seminoma. Sacrococcygeal tumors, extragonadal germ cell tumor need to be widely excised because most of them are benign. Pineal tumors may require primary radiation with CSF shunt. Coming to the sex cord mesenchymal tumor, the Leydig cell tumors are the most common of sex cord mesenchymal tumors. 1 to 3% of all testicular tumors and 10% are malignant. The cut section showing a golden brown color, the tumor is solid and lobulated. The malignant tumors tend to be large, and in some cases necrosis also can be seen. And it may present with isosexual precocity. Radical inguinal orchectomy is a treatment of choice with RPLND in some cases. Sartori cell tumors, nearly 10% of these tumors are malignant tumors, and the management is radical inguinal orchectomy with RPLND. Gonadoblastoma are mixed germ cell and stromal cell tumors, which 80% may show phenotypic females and remaining are phenotypic males. Since there is a high incidence of bilaterality in the gonadoblastoma, so contralateral gonadectomy when gonadal dysgenesis is present is always indicated, and the prognosis is excellent in these cases after treatment. Some other tumors like adenocarcinoma of rete testis is very rare but highly malignant, and the age group is 20 to 80 years. Management includes a radical orchiectomy with RPLNT. Carcinoid testis, around 23 cases are recorded, and the diagnosis is usually post-operative. And metastatic testis carcinoid has a poor prognosis. Lymphoma of the testis is the most common secondary neoplasm of the testis, usually presenting with a painless enlargement of testis. Management includes radical orchiectomy and followed by chemotherapy with excellent prognosis. Cut section showing a white to tan fleshy tumor, and the uniformity of the testicular shape is maintained in lymphoma. Leukemic infiltration of the testis is commonly seen in young boys with ALL, and biopsy is essential for diagnosis, and the treatment is testicular irradiation. Lastly, coming to the metastatic tumors of the testis, normally the age group is 50 to 60 years. The common primary sources in decreasing order of frequency is prostate, lung, GIT, melanoma, and kidney. Coming to some health awareness campaign which have been run by different medical communities and medical association, and which encourages testicular self-examination. They have been recommended, and the treatment where these options are given for the patient for regular checkup also. In high-risk patients with having siblings, or any patients with close relative diagnosed with testicular cancer. There are eminent personalities who have completely recovered from germ cell tumors, and now they're living a normal life. Another testicular awareness campaign which recommends regular testicular self-examination, and because it has been there in the Irish Medical Society, and the tagline is almost all cases of testicular cancer can be treated successfully. Early detection can save the life. In conclusion, testicular cancers are the most curable malignancy of young adults, the most common germ cell tumors. Seminoma is slightly more common than non-seminoma. Surgery is the main modality of treatment, followed by radiotherapy or chemotherapy for seminoma, and chemotherapy and RPLNT for non-seminoma. Surveillance generally for patients who are compliant with strict follow-up. Follow-up is recommended to detect secondary primary tumor, local or distant recurrence, and to monitor for potential long-term side effects. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Sampath, for the detailed presentation on testicular tumors. It's a very good presentation, sir. Thank you very much. The topic is open for discussion. The audience who are having any doubts or who want to add points can participate in the discussion. So, any questions? Welcome.
One question I can see in the chat message is the role of epinephrine in testicular tumors. Epinephrine is normally not recommended in testicular cancer because it may lead to the opening of the lymphatic channels and local spread of the tumor to the scrotal skin and the inguinal lymph nodes. If there is a suspicion of testicular cancer with proper staging, with tumor markers, ultrasound, MRI, and then the treatment option available is radical inguinal orchiectomy, followed by the treatment as depends on the staging. FNAC at present has no role in testicular tumors.
Any questions? Yeah. Any questions?
Dr. Santosh, this came across, I mean, like most of the time they have this anxiety regarding fertility, long-term fertility. So how do you advise especially adolescent kids who are coming with testicular cancers?
Patient has to be counseled regarding the treatment options available, because all the treatment options definitely will affect the fertility of the patient. So all the patients are given the options of sperm banking. So they can preserve the sperms before treatment starts, even before radiotherapy and chemotherapy. and then they can proceed with the treatment options with excellent results. The sperm banking has opened the has encouraged a lot of people to opt for the treatment as early as possible, with some people having kids using the sperm banking and artificial reproductive techniques. So we have to counsel the patient regarding the side effects and then encourage them for sperm banking and other aspects of the family life.
Thank you. And it's actually even a recurrence is even if you have a recurrence in testicular cancers, they still have a better prognosis than most other cancers. True?
Yeah, recurrence, if detected early, it definitely has a higher prognosis, better prognosis. But some recurrence have occur in a distant place like brain mets and all. Then the prognosis becomes bad. But most of the recurrence with early diagnosis and treatment, with good treatment options available, they do better than other cancers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Any more questions from the audience? If no more questions, we can conclude the session. So thank you, Dr. Santosh, for the excellent presentation. The post-test as well as evaluation are posted in the chat box as well as in AHS WhatsApp group. Please fill up the post-test and evaluation before concluding the session.